We're going to be doing some more dubious speculation in this video in regards to Carlotta. I do apologise for any mistakes in the pronunciation. This is just a theory crafting video. Don't take it too deep. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections. Let's get right into it. In my last video, I discussed Brant and his potential attribute in gameplay style from what we've seen so far, and some theory crafting regarding his name and its original meaning and translations. Today, I wanted to discuss the girl of the hour, Carlotta, and my favourite looking resonator from the 2.0 drip marketing that we've received so far. As you know, she's the second daughter of the esteemed Montelli family, but who is the first? We could look to Frovlova, but we have no evidence for that other than the coincidence of looking somewhat similar. But anyway, I digress. Back to the Montelli family and what we can take from the name. Well, Montelli is typically an Italian name, which makes sense considering the setting of Rinascita. But what does it mean? Well, Montelli is a diminutive of the Italian word Monte. That being said, Montelli is also a family name found to have originated from the Basque region of northern Spain in a hamlet near Barrantivilla in Alava. Montelli in Spanish means little mountain, and Monte in Italian means mount, which makes sense when we see the images of Rinascita and the extravagant buildings that sit in the front of the shadow of what appears to be mountain ranges, or at least a little mountain. Again, in Spanish, Montelli is derived from the word monte, which means hill or wooded upland. So I think we can see the reasoning for this family name. Is it the ruling family of Rinascita, or just one of the noble, powerful families of the region? Were they potential founders of Rinascita and its city-state, or are they just part of the elite class of the port city? Now, back to Carlotta and the main part of this video. Let's talk about the name itself and any potential theory crafting we can make from it, and also ideas behind her kit and maybe even her attribute. The name Carlotta is of Italian origin, with other origins being French. Carlotta is a feminine name that means free man, a romantic spin on its French sister name Charlotte. Carlotta is an appellation that delights in one's zest for life and the ability to look at life with wide-eyed wonder. Which, when we look at the quote from Wuthering Waves on the Twitter, that Carlotta embodies innate nobility and a refined appreciation for art, her elegance is matched by her unconventional spirit unshackled by tradition, it's not hard to see how her way of life lives up to her name. Although the general consensus I've been seeing around Carlotta and her attributes seem to be leaning towards her being a Glacio gun user, which, looking at the design of her pistol/rifle, yes, both, it's clear to see why people have come to this conclusion, along with rumours going around for some time of a 5-star Glacio gun user coming to the game. Let's look into her a little more, shall we? We can look to her weapon and the fact it uses crystals for ammo that inherently look to be Havoc in origin, if we go off the basic colour anyway. Let's also look to her outfit style as well. There's no denying it oozes the palette of a Havoc user, with its rich pinks contrasting with the whites on her dress. That being said, Kuro loved to do this bait and switch when it comes to character designs and the obvious attribute not being the one for said resonator. Let's look beyond the obvious parts of her apparel and look into the name Carlotta, or Charlotte in English and French. That the name is often associated with the emerald for its birthstone if symbolicsecrets.com is to be believed. And we all know of one resonator associated with emeralds in Solaris. And if you take a closer look at Carlotta's accessories, we can see she is adorned with what could be emerald-like gemstones on her wrists, neck and her boots. Although slightly blue in colour, which is possible of emeralds, could this allude to Aero being her attribute? I tend to think no, as for one, the jewelry she wears looks more to be diamonds than emeralds, and we have an Aero pistol user in Alto. Also, I believe the other attributes are more likely, but we will soon see, I guess. Now, let's talk about Carlotta's weapon and the fact we can now see she has a rifle version and a pistol or handgun version of the weapon. We can see in her initial drip market image, she's clearly holding what looks to be a rifle in one hand and the potential ammo in the other, as if in the middle of reloading the weapon. Now we can look to the drip market specifically for Carlotta herself, and in this image and the small video clip that was released, she can be seen to be holding what is clearly a handgun this time, not a rifle. It's also clearly missing the stock visible in the first image we were shown. What does this mean for Carlotta? Does she have two versions to her base combat for her weapons? For example, switching to the rifle in her attack chains? Does she switch from pistols to rifle upon filling and activating her forte? Is it her skill or potentially her ultimate where she equips the larger of the weapons? Will this be a one-shot skill or a fully fledged switch to the rifle with rapid fire like how the pistols work? Will her pistols charge her rifle for a devastating critical hit? Will we see the potential of introducing of debuffs for a weapon? How cool would it be if her pistols charged her forte, opening the opportunity for her to unleash a rifle shot that slowed larger enemies or froze smaller enemies, thus allowing for a new style of engagement based around debuffs or afflictions. This could include increasing her damage with follow-up shots after debuffing enemies with the rifle shot. After speaking about the potential for developing more dual-style combat in my last video in regards to Brandt, with him maybe being a melee and ranged weapon user at the same time, could we be seeing the development of a sort of Gen 2 resonator class in Wuthering Waves, that their forte not only unleashes powerful attacks or buffs damage, but actually changes resonators' combat roles or potential playstyle, which we've already kind of seen granted in a less nuanced version in Camellia. I believe genuine afflictions such as freezing or slowing via Glacio, burning via fusion, or darkness through havoc, etc. having effects on enemies in ways such as adding dot damage, slowing, or even blindness, potentially causing missed hits from enemies, will be an interesting development in the game. I'd like to know what's your opinion on this as well, as I know it could potentially be a very much disliked idea, as if implemented incorrectly could create the potential for some serious meta changes and power creep on older resonators, but if implemented correctly could also buff the damage and attributes of older resonators and add a sort of elemental system without it being like Genshin Impact's elemental reactions. Rather, an enemy affected by blindness having the chance to miss attacks but also taking increased damage from havoc dealing resonators, and the same for slowed or frozen enemies taking increased damage from other Glacio users. Adding more synergy with teams beyond outro and ult buffs, and maybe giving more use for attributes themselves in combat rather than it merely being an extra attack damage added to resonators, actually having some specific increased synergy in specific teams in the future. So, in essence, being able to stack a particular attribute's damage upon an afflicted enemy and creating genuine powerhouse teams by the attribute itself, rather than just buffing the DPS and maybe giving more field time to other roles and introducing new rotations for the idea of increasing uptime of attribute damage rather than pure DPS via crit rate and crit damage. And also allowing for more variety in main damage dealer builds beyond crit rate and crit damage, and allowing them to be more built around the attribute itself rather than raw power. Now, these ideas might all be really dumb, but this is what it's all about, sparking discussions and having fun with the game we all love. Let me know your thoughts. Am I crazy, stupid, or would you like to see some of this in the game in future? If you did enjoy this video, like the video guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. What are your thoughts on Carlotta? What are your thoughts on her attributes? What do you think she's going to play like? And what do you think about the idea of potentially having something similar to afflictions in the game in future? I'd love to know your thoughts, and I'll see you all in the next video. Ta-ra.